All right, and welcome to another episode of the Author Spotlight. Here's Self-Publishing 30 Days. My name is Rob YB Youngblood. I am your president of sales and your LinkedIn locksmith. I'm excited to be with Yolanda Livingston, a very sharp author who we had the opportunity to connect via Clubhouse. And so it's amazing what Clubhouse is doing for folks to be able to connect. Would you agree, Yolanda?
Absolutely. Amazing.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So here in the Author Spotlight.
Connections are great.
Oh, connections are tremendously great. Absolutely. So what we do here at the Author Spotlight is we provide an outlet for authors to be able to share their story, talk about their book, talk about their background. So Yolanda, welcome to the Author Spotlight. How are you doing today?
Thank you. And I am doing well. I hope you're doing well too.
Oh,
you look like you're doing well.
I'm doing phenomenal, and I'm getting better about a second. I used to tell people I do better about a minute, but then I talked to somebody today, and they said I'm getting better about a second, so they one up me. So now I'm going to take that. I don't know if we can get any better than about a second, but I'm doing well.
I don't think so.
So as we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself. All right, give me a little bit about your background, but start with where you're from. Where's your hometown?
I am from Detroit, Michigan. Woo-hoo! The D. And that's right. Always.
Is that 313? Is that 313?
That's 313. Right, yes, sir.
On.
That is. Come on. That is where I am from. I grew up there, and then migrated to the South, to Tennessee, in 2003. Around there, and I am the proud daughter of Walter and Nettie Olive. I had great parents, and I'm a Christian. I love the Lord, and have been that way pretty much since I can remember. What else is there about me? I have 3 siblings, 2 sisters and a brother. I'm the youngest. I was treated very well. I'm the baby of the bunch. Yeah. I've been married now for, this year will be 28 years. Wow. I am the mother of an amazing 15-year-old precocious daughter, and we are living the life. Yes.
I love it. I love it. Well, I can tell you are, because you're beaming from ear to ear. So kudos to Mr. Livingston. You know what I'm saying? You know, the brothers, we got to make sure that we keep that smile on our wife's face. So that's phenomenal. So what prompted the transition from Detroit to Tennessee? Was that something that happened because of school or life, family? Like what got you from Detroit down to Tennessee?
That husband of mine. So my husband is in ministry, and he's also in the Army. And so what brought us here is it was where he was stationed when he was first a soldier, and the pastor passed away, and they asked him to submit his resume, and he did. And they selected him, and so the rest is history. And so we've been here now coming up on 18 years. And that's where the book came in, The Prison of the Pastor's Wife. And prior to coming here, we were in ministry at home. My husband was the youth pastor at the church that we were members of prior to coming to Tennessee.
Okay, wonderful. Well, since you cracked it open, come on, give us that title of the book again, and tell us what inspired your book.
The Prison of the Pastor's Wife is the title of the book, and then the subtitle is To Be Free. What prompted the book was I watched for years pastors' wives in ministry and everything, and I was like, man, they look so stoic. Man, I don't want to look like that when if I were in those shoes. And then I was in those shoes, and then it became clear why they had some of the dispositions, why they looked the way they looked. And, we always look at that role or that ministry position as one of prestige or one that has the glam lights all around it, when in actuality, it's one that is quite challenging and presents um, difficulties for the family if we're not cognizant and or aware to make things different. And so that's where it all stems from.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think that's a powerful title because, when you think about, prison, what I'm saying, and then you say a preacher's wife, it's like, wow. It's like, what I'm saying, you start thinking already, man, that's a little juicy. Like, okay, what's going on? Like, what's happening? So when you think about your book, like in my mind, I kind of have a thought for who the book might be for, but to those who are listening and watching, like who is your book for? Like who is it intended for?
So it is purpose for pastors' wives. Um, and in and did it, and then even gotten some reviews from other people. Those that are congregants, because it gives an insight into how the pastor and his family are treated. And it can actually help to be more gracious, to be more kind, to be more considerate
Mhm.
when you actually look at what's in this book. And it also kind of touches relationships, marriage, period. So yeah, that's who I believe that it can reach, but its intended purpose and focus was to minister to pastors' wives, because that was the vision that I had. I had a vision of a pastor's wife behind prison walls.
Mhm.
And that stemmed from being in like a fishbowl,
Mhm.
always having to be on the A game, always having to be on point, kids always having to be right.
Right.
There isn't a whole lot of room for quote unquote error. And because everybody is watching and everybody has an expectation, and
Yeah.
that expectation may not even be biblical, but nonetheless, it's their expectation of the pastor, his family.
Yeah.
And so the way I saw it was they went through so much and they struggled. And I just wanted to be that person to give them a voice.
Mhm.
Um, because that's the other thing we do. I think we do it, period, as people. We wear masks and we cover up what's really on the inside.
Yeah.
And if you're in certain positions, then that means I really can't say how I really feel. I
Yeah.
really can't tell them what I'm really going through,
Yeah.
because then they're going to look at us like this, and then they're going to. So I just wanted to be that voice to help pastors' wives to feel like they had a place or somebody that could relate to where they were and how they were feeling. And so that's how it all started.
No, I think that's great. And the fact that you have a specific niche and a target, most churches outside of certain denominations, the pastors, if it's a male pastor, may be married. And so their wives, his wife is somebody that could benefit from this, or future, pastors'
Yes.
wives, because it'll definitely prevent a lot of the headaches that many people face when they go through situations. What made you think? Obviously, you have experience, but what made you think you could become an author? Like what allowed for you to go from where you were to then saying, you know what, I think it's time for me to put this in a book.
Well, I have a great team of people. My family is amazing. One person in particular, my sister Nisha, my sister from another mother, was always encouraging. Yo, you could do this. You could write this book, and I believed it because I didn't feel like God would put it there, put the idea, the picture there for me not to carry it through. So I just trusted that that's what I needed to do. And because in there, there's some reflection point so that you can talk about what you've been through. You know, you could talk about how you felt in those different areas. And so I just felt like I had to do it. It was something that I felt that I needed to get done because I feel like too many pastors' wives, and if you're true about it, too many pastors are committing suicide. Why? There's not a safe place.
Right.
There's not anybody who's actually saying, hey, this is what I'm going through, and make me feel like I'm not by myself and I'm not on an isolated island and I have no hope
Yeah.
because it's just me. So that's why I did it, because I felt like I had to. It wasn't like it was something optional. Now, was it difficult? The process? Absolutely. Did I want to quit a lot of days? Absolutely. And that's why I say that support system, it was amazing. And they always were, you have to do it. You have to put that book out. And in particular, there was one incident that there was a pastor's wife who actually committed suicide. And so then I got all the messages, yo, your book is needed. You have got to get that book out there because people need to know they're not alone. So that was my motivation.
Well, that's good. And I'm grateful that, like, once again, that you accepted this invitation, because I'm not a pastor's wife. I'm not a pastor, but the ability to leverage each other's platform and network, this will provide opportunities for people to hear about you that may not even know you exist. So what would you say was the biggest challenge in putting your book together? What was the, what was your biggest challenge? Because what we have are people who aspire to be authors. And a lot of times when they hear about the struggles that people have overcome to get their book produced, it gives encouragement that obviously they had this struggle, but they were able to overcome it and get it done. Why? Because they got it done. Like, we could see that it got it done. So what would you say were, maybe the biggest challenge or challenges that you had to overcome to get this project completed?
I think one of the greatest challenges that I had was while I wrote, I was going through some of those same situations. And I think sometimes we feel like we can't write if we're there. If I'm going there, I'm in the situation, how am I going to be the expert about the situation? How am I going to tell anybody how to overcome? And I'm right in the storm. And I think that was a part of my greatest opposition. Was in many instances I was walking the journey. But I think the best part of the end of that is I walked through freedom. I walked to freedom through writing the book, through going through it while I was in the journey, and just kept pushing and kept writing. On the other side of completion was freedom. And that was one of the things that I actually put in there. Was like, wow, when I look back and I read the pages, the same pain, the same hurt, all of those things, it was not the same. It was totally different. And so I think that was rewarding in itself, but that was the greatest obstacle, was going through the journey while I wrote.
No, I think that's tremendous. And that's a nugget, that even though you may be going through a situation, that's the time to put your thoughts and emotions on paper, because that's when it becomes real. I think that's tremendous. So talk a little bit about, now that the book is done and now the book is out there, what kind of impact, what are people saying? Obviously, we know what they were saying before, like, this book is needed. But what would you say has been your biggest success story so far? Like, what has been, what has been something that came back to you as a result of you putting this book together that just had you like, wow, like thank God I did this, right? Like, any success stories that you want to share?
A couple, actually. One of them was this was huge. I hear your voice. Like, as you're writing, as I'm reading this, I hear your voice. And that's significant because you don't want to write and people not hear your voice. I think the other one that was really huge for me, because like I said, I am the youngest of four. And when I say youngest, my oldest sister is 17 years older than me, and from there. And so I was nervous about my family reading it. And when they did, my one sister called me and she said, this book is amazing. And she said, she's not that one to tell you something just because you her sister. She that one that's gonna tell you wrong, you need to get this together. That's that sister.
Yeah.
But she said, this book blessed me. It made me look at my life and where I am and my relationship with the Lord. And so I was like, wow, that brought me to tears, that it even impacted someone who wasn't a pastor's wife, but it made her look at her relationship and how it needed to become tighter with the Lord. And then there are others who just have shared how, you know, it was so transparent and they could really see them in some of those situations and how it was really helpful. And the prayers at the end of the chapter were the highlight. Many people said that is what sealed it. You walked us through the journey, but then you prayed for us to be free. And that was like huge. So yeah, those are some of the things that came back that were rewarding.
That is tremendous, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful to God that you were obedient, because so many people are not. They allow fear and disobedience to stop them from doing what God has called them to do. You know, if he gives it to you, he's going to get you through it. You know what I mean? He's going to get you through it. So as we begin to land the plane, tell us, how can people get access to your book? Like, what, you know, I'm sure people are listening like, man, this is some great stuff. Well, outside of Googling the title, like what's the best way for them to get their hands on the book? And then how can they get connected to you?
Amazon right now is the best way to get the book. And then to get to me, my website is free2-b.org. They can get to me there. Website is in progress, you know, and all of those things. I am on social media. Under Yolanda Livingston, and on Instagram under Lady Liv. And I also have a page under Freedom Project, which is the ministry that I started. So that's the best way to reach me, the best way to get the book. I think I answered all of that right there, right quick. And I wanted to say something to you. I said, you know, you said I'm not a pastor, but you know, you could fool a whole lot of people because they might think you were.
Well, I tell you what's funny. For a long time, I would go to places and speak, and people like, and it always happens in like a convenience store or a, you know, supermarket or something. And I think a lot of it has to do because of my mannerisms, right? You know, I grew up in a single parent home. My dad was actually murdered when I was 2. And so my mom was always on this, you know, manners, and I was raised in the church. And I remember being a kid and telling the preacher at the Baptist church I was at that I want to be a preacher just like you, right? And so, you know, I would go places and I would say things, and people say, are you a pastor? Like, are you a minister? And no, they would say if I was a pastor or preacher, are you a preacher? And I wouldn't like that question for a couple of reasons. One, because I didn't want to deny Christ. So that was the first thing. I don't want to deny Christ, right? But I don't want to tell people I am. And they say, well, why don't you come over to my church and preach? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be, I don't want to be one of them jackleg preachers that, you know, they had no credentials, no nothing. But here's what's even more funny. Here's even funny. I ended up going to a college that produces preachers and teachers. Virginia Union University, where the Samuel DeWitt Proctor School of Theology resides. And so it's amazing how, you know, so for me now, it's like when I go out, but people say, well, are you a pastor? I say, I'm a speaker who knows Jesus personally, right? That way, they don't think they're gonna bring me in and I'm gonna have my collar. You know what I'm saying? I don't got no collar for you. I don't got no robes. Just bring me in to speak, and I'll share the word based on how it's affected my life, if that makes sense. So so that's how I handle that. But it's amazing what God will do. And there's a big difference between a preacher and a pastor, right? There's a big difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, pastor is a shepherd. A preacher can bring the word. So just because you're a preacher don't mean you have the
Make
gift
you a pastor.
of covering. You know what I'm saying? Like they bring you in to bring a word, and they'll play the chords for you, and you get your honorarium and keep it moving. But if you're a pastor, you getting them calls at 2:00 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? You getting the tears, sometimes you're getting a little bit more than that. Sister so-and-so sitting on the front pew right next to the preacher's wife. Now I ain't even gonna go there, but there's a lot of danger. There's a lot of danger for preachers.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of danger for preachers. So so for me, I'm like, but I appreciate that. And I think even in what I do here, giving people a platform and being able to share the word, because what we're doing right now, this is actually ministry. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're ministering, we're giving people the opportunity to share their voice. You feel me? And obviously, if you're a believer and you know that God has put something in your heart to say, you got to be willing to take it up. That's why I appreciate you for being so excited about joining me, because I'm a firm believer that those who get excited, they got something to say, and that word is going to find somebody else. And so I just greatly appreciate it. So I have two final questions for you, and then we'll wrap up. The first question is, say for example, you get ready to write your next book, right? Whenever that might be, and you and your husband have the ability to go anywhere in the world, for you to have the time and the opportunity to put this second book together, or this third book, or whenever that next book is together, and we were paying for it. And when I say we, I'm saying me and Self-Publishing 30 Days, and we were paying for it. Where would you go? Where in the world would you go to write your next book?
Wow. A place of peace, a place of serenity, a place of peace and quiet. And when I think of those images, I think of Hawaii.
Okay. Have you ever been?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. The beach, the sand, just the peace. It's just peaceful there. That would be an amazing place to sit down and just put pen to paper and knock it out. Yes,
I love
absolutely.
I love it. I love it. I ask that question of everyone that comes on to my podcast, because, my wife, she loves to travel. But what I want people to do is to set their minds to a place that's beyond where they currently are. Because if you could travel anywhere in the world, like, the world is so vast, it's so large. But in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the universe, we're just a speck. And so if you have the opportunity to do that, and even for those that are watching and listening, ask yourself that question. If we were paying for it, matter of fact, I love for people to put that in the comment section, right? If Self-Publishing 30 Days was paying for you to go anywhere in the world to write your next book, where would you go? Definitely throw that in the comments. I like to see where some of you all are looking to go. My last question for you is, is there anything else on your heart that you would want people to either know about you, your book, or just anything in general that they would need to know as it pertains to either becoming an author or just your book in general? Any last words you want to share?
Yes, the part of my ministry, Freedom Project, that started, there's several umbrellas that under there, but the main one right now that I'm focusing on is ministry to women, and especially those women who have endured some pain and endured, some hardship, who've gone on the journey of the pastor's wife. And it isn't always pleasant, but I would like to leave a word of encouragement and a word of hope. And that hope is in Jesus. Constantly being prayerful, never losing sight that as long as there's life, there's hope.
Mm.
And so just don't give up your hope. And that's the thing that I would like to leave, and that I would like for, if nothing else is remembered about Yolanda, nothing else, remember that your life matters. And as long as you have it, that it's not the end, and that there is hope.
I love it. Yolanda, thank you so much for gracing our presence, sharing your most valuable asset with us, your time and your mind. We wish you all of the best and much success. For those of you who are watching and listening, definitely go and support Yolanda. Reach out to her, buy as many books as you want, as many as you can, and invite her in to speak. As you can see, she has presence. And she'll share some insights with you. But for those of you who have been rocking with us for as long as I've been the host of the Authors Spotlight, you know what I'm about to say. And for those of you who are brand new, we thank you for joining us. But be encouraged, be blessed, but most of all, be faithful over the gift that you've been given, because your gift will make room for you. We'll see you on the next episode of the Author Spotlight. God bless.